Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you to master your mindset and maximize your money. Today, oh my God, today is a very special day. And one of the things I didn't know, y'all, I live in the DMV. This is my first election cycle in the DMV. They close the schools out here. They close most of the companies are closed down because what? Guess why? It's election day. And the campaigns that we've witnessed, we are highlighting the good, the bad, and the outrageous moments. Let me ask you a question. Did any of the candidates did they truly get it right, or are we just hearing more empty promises? Well, today, me and my queens are going to examine who genuinely is addressing the needs of the people. But first, I want to introduce you to the most beautifulest, the most loveliest, the most amazingest queens who did not put their ish in the chat, but it's cool because I know who they are. We got Miss Lene Javette, who is a monetization specialist. She's going to help you to, no, she's a brilliance. Wait, what you a brilliance expert?
I did change it to brilliant business coach and monetization strategist.
Come on, a brilliant. And then we have Dr. Alicia, who is a PhD therapist, couples counseling coach extraordinaire. And then we have Miss Moya, who is actually a tax professional. She's all the way out there on the West Coast, which is kind of the best coast when I lived out there. And then we have Miss We Wealth Warrior herself, queen of all things pop culture, Miss Athena Gardner. Yes, ladies. So first, before we really dig deep, I want to ask you guys, what are your thoughts about the current nature of the election cycle? Do you think this is one of the most important? Because, you know, what I've heard over the years is that this is the one. This is the most important election of the season. If we don't vote, we gonna die. The world is gonna end if we elect the wrong person. What do you think, Dr. Lene?
I don't think the world is going to end. However, I do think that this is a very, very important election. Not only are the policies important, not only Project 2025, not only rights and things of that nature, but this next president will most likely be determining who goes back on, who will fill new seats on the Supreme Court. That is with long-term thinking, right? Every 4 years we vote, but the Supreme Court stays forever. And it is believed that this next president will be responsible for the dynamics of the Supreme Court. So it is important. It is vital. Not to say that all these other things are important. What's happening at the State Department with regards to employees, what's happening with the rights and whatnot that police officers get, all of those things are important. And dictatorship, there's just a whole bunch that's happening that weighs on this election. But I'm definitely thinking about that Supreme Court and just the concepts and the ideologies of what will happen over the lifetime of ourselves, but mostly our children. So I think it's a super important election.
Okay, that's a good thought. Well, what about you, Dr. Alicia? Do you think that this is the most important election of our lives? And if we don't vote, we gonna die. It's gonna be the end of the world.
I think that we have a country divided. One part of our country lives in one world. Another part of our country lives in a totally different world. I talk to people who are voting for Harris, and they have one set of conversations. And then I talk to someone who's voting for Trump, and they have a totally different conversation. And there's nothing similar between the two of them. So I'm really more concerned with the divide, how polarized. I don't think we've ever been so polarized in this country than before. And that is a little concerning to me. I don't hear a lot of listening. I hear a lot of moving further and further away from each other. And I don't see any coming together. I don't see any listening. I don't even understand. People can't even get on the same page with facts and information and data. It's like everything, it's this solipsistic conversation about what is actually happening versus what is just rhetoric. And it's a little concerning.
Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. It's a lot going on, and we are seeing the biggest, I think. Well, I mean, there was a big divide during the Civil War. Do you think the divide was as great as it was during the Civil War? Dr. Alicia, just to finish that thought out.
Yeah, just think about that. The Civil War. There's so many people who are nationalists and they believed in a certain thing. It's almost like disbelief. And what happened with the Civil War, what I see right now, it's like the other. It's almost like I am this way, but anybody who doesn't think the way I am, there's something wrong with them. They're less than. It's this othering that's also, similar to the Civil War. It's like those slaves and those Black people, those are the others, and there's a demonization of someone who's different from you. That's the common thread. There was a Civil War. So hopefully we won't see this today. Sounds like DC, and I know you'll talk about that, is preparing for something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They are on high alert right now. And, when we talk about a two-party system, George Washington warned us against the dangers of a two-party system. Do you remember that when he addressed, when he had his farewell address in 1796, he said that political parties could lead to division, it could weaken the government, and it could create conflicts that will sever party interests over those of the nation. And that's what's really happened is we have loyalty to party more than we have loyalty to nation. People are just, I'm a Republican and that's it. I don't give a damn what the Republicans do. They say Democrat, I'm gonna vote Democrat. I'm blue, blue, blue. And F the nation, I'm voting party. But what do you think, Miss Moya? Do you think that this is the most important election of the entire century?
I'm glad you brought up the Civil War because I think that's a real thing. And you said something so important. This election, I'm voting for freedom. Like, as a Black person, it's very hard for us to conceptualize that because freedom has always been something that feels like it's escaped us. Freedom sounds like the rhetoric that Republicans used to say. But in this election, we really have enough to understand that we are voting for freedom. As Dr. Lene said, the Supreme Court, with their lifetime appointments, have the ability to truly dictate the trajectory of our country. And we think that as Black people, we're going to be the ones that are saved from the tyranny that he said that he wants to put in place. No, it's all about freedom. It's about the Constitution, and it's about the United States. That's why I'm voting.
This girl said he. She won't even mention his name like he the devil himself. It's he, him.
You know where
always on the Supreme Court. Like he listen. It is important. It's important that we don't let people in office that can leave long-lasting destruction. We've never seen this type of divide until that person started using the rhetoric that he uses. Like, we've always had division. Elections have always been two parties, but not this type of hate and fighting and disrespect. And that hasn't been a part of it.
Yeah, that is true. Miss We Wealth Warrior, what are your thoughts? Do you think that this is like, this is it, if we elect the opposite person, that everything is going to fall apart?
Every election cycle, they always do this fear mongering to get the people riled up, to get all this anxiety going within us. And up until I actually voted, I was kind of feeling that. But when I actually went into the polls and voted, I was like, why was I even stressed about this whole thing? It was actually the most peaceful part of the process. All of these campaigns and getting 50 million texts. Y'all know I live in Florida. So y'all know I'm getting like 50 million texts about who you voting for, this amendment, this, da 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 da. You also know I live in Palm Beach. So y'all already know who is here. Who got, downtown shut down, basically. So I am like surprisingly very calm in a very anxiety, stress induced area. Put it like this. I had one of my friends post about, the
Shut your ass up, Brian, but go ahead.
Trump is having like a watch party at the convention center downtown. So like there's these messages going around, be safe because the MAGA crowd. Now, the MAGA crowd are actually out year round. They have signs and stuff year round. Whether or not he wins or loses, it's a very rambunctious crowd of people. They have their trucks driving everywhere and doing all kind of stuff. So
he said rambunctious. That was a nice way of putting it, but go ahead.
So your girl is staying inside the house until it's safe to come outside, honey. Basically.
I love these Black Trump supporters because it's like they will quickly realize what side of the fence that the other people will look at them as. It's so funny. But I went to go vote this morning, and it was kind of organized. They were still kind of training a little bit, the people, but everybody was very nice, and I got my vote in, and I hope my vote counts because they were still kind of training. But we do have a video that happened a couple of days ago when some folks were trying to vote, and kind of what happened when they told a gentleman to take off his hat, because you're not supposed to wear a political paraphernalia when you go vote. And they asked him to take off his hat, and here's what happened.
Bitch.
That's no reason.
Wow. This is my motherfucking right. Wow. Why is it defending you?
It's like the
I ain't been shut the hell up and let me vote.
okay, Jamie. Okay, we ain't got nothing else to say. We ain't got nothing else to say.
Wow.
Move on. Next thing.
There it is right there.
No.
Wow. Wow. God. Oh.
Don't do that.
Wow.
See, listen, you guys, listen. Okay. I told you I got this streak, and Dr. Alicia, I'm gonna need you to really help me with this, okay? Because when I was growing up, I used to daydream about fighting. And that's a kind of a recurring thing for me. And I didn't realize until I was good and grown that it's not normal for people to daydream about fighting. Like, I didn't know. And so when I see things like this, I'd be imagining myself in these situations, and I'd be like, see, God didn't put me in here for a reason, because I would have been like that lady that did that bing, bing. That would have been me, right? If we was all in that situation, I would have been her. And so this is why God don't put me in these situations, because it will be some problems. So what are your thoughts? Like, what would you have done, Dr. Alicia, if you were in that situation? Because I already know what I would have did. I'd have been her.
Yeah, I mean, if someone put their hands on me, that's it. I'm just
okay.
Like, I'm not gonna start nothing, but I'm not. If my back's against the wall, you have to fight. Like, you can't. You have to. Someone's recording.
Let us
So you would have been the one that been like
diffusing
diffusing
the situation. No, everybody
fight. I am from Gary, Indiana. I guess I can say that. You know, I'm ready to fight.
Yes.
But they did I think they were crowding him a little too much, just from what it was, a lot of people standing around. But they were trying to, I saw a lot of ladies trying to calm everybody down. They were like, no, just ignore them, just step back, just leave it alone. Okay, just calm down. Like, they were really trying not to fight. But this gentleman was really at it. And I'm curious if they didn't have, I wonder why they didn't have security or police. Usually there's an officer around, because he was definitely aggravated battery. Probably he could be arrested for. Hopefully he got arrested for that, because he was threatening, and the way he was kind of coming at her, and she's bigger than him. I mean, those women could have taken him down. Like, I think once you do the first blow, I think you could just come down on that man.
Y'all, that's why this is why I don't watch like reality TV, because when they be fighting. This is why I don't watch like talk shows when they be fighting, because I'd be like, my fist be over there balled up. But we'll talk more about it when we come back from this commercial, because I'm interested in hearing you guys' thoughts.
Hey, if you're just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I am Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I am the proud producer of this show. So I hope that every day when you join us, you leave a little smarter than you came, because that's the point. Otherwise, why are you watching? So if you want to receive notices for when we go live, Fly Nubian Money goes live every single day. That's Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So So if you don't know, now you know. All you have to do is text the word Queens, that's Queens, that's Queens, to 87948. That's 87948. That's Queens to 87948. Yes? If you want.
All right, y'all, audience, text the word Queens to 87948. But I want to know, I'm just looking at the personalities on the panel, and then you guys too in the comments. But if you were in this situation, would you be the lady trying to diffuse everything? Or would it be, somebody said Constance gives fight night vibes. I must walk around with. I do. I don't know if you guys remember on Kings of Comedy when Cedric the Entertainer said he walks around like with the wish method. Like, I wish that'd be me. So Moya, what?
I wouldn't have been fighting. I definitely would have been a calmer downer, but I would have been call the police as well.
Okay.
Definitely would have called the police. Like, that would have been the first thing. The first aggression, 911 or something. Okay. That's A. But B, whoever was on the planning committee, how come nobody thought there's no men in these rooms?
Right.
How come nobody
That's
thought?
what I thought too.
South Carolina, most likely some Trump territory. We need to have somebody in here for protection. Somebody should have thought about that. And I'm not going to go out here on the race thing and be like, was it because it was a room full of Black women? Nobody thought about it, because I just think that somebody should have thought that through better. These women should have been protected. That should not have occurred. But when it did, the police should have been called immediately. There shouldn't have been no de-escalating. There should have been no hands put on. Everything stopped. Call the police. That would have been it.
Yeah, I understand. What do you think, Moya? What's your thoughts? Who would you have been in this situation? I'm just trying to get an assessment of the personalities that we have here on the panel.
I definitely would have wanted to calm everyone down. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to escalate. But the other thing that we have to keep in mind is I don't know the feeling of being in a southern state, meaning like how threatened these women may have been, him being a white man, parts of Texas, they were even saying that they want to know who has the Harris lawn signs because the sheriff wanted to indicate it. This is in 2024. So I don't know that feeling of being in such a threatening environment. So I thought, like Dr. Alicia said, I thought they handled themselves very well, understanding that this guy was very out of line.
Considering, and it's so funny that you said you would have called the police, because I'm surprised that the other person like me is Dr. Alicia, because she's so sweet and she's I know. But Athena, what do you think? What are your thoughts? What would you have done in that situation?
All right, so when I saw that he was getting escalated, I would probably look for a man to come defuse the situation or call somebody. Okay. Had he put his hands on me, the Jamaican might have come out. The Jamaican might have come out. I don't know. Once you put your hands on me, I don't know. The warrior goddess Athena might have to show up in that moment. But what's tricky is I live in Florida. Florida changes gun laws. I don't know who walking around here with what. Oh, it's already tense. I already live in Palm Beach County. I don't know who MAGA. So I might hope that I just calm myself down and sit down, because I have to protect my safety at this point. I have to think about that.
Well, sound like
let's change the dynamics, though. I didn't think about that. I am not a fighter, but under those circumstances, with the tension that high, when somebody puts their hands on you, it does change the dynamics of the situation.
It does. But that is a microcosm, and it's indicative of kind of what's going on across the country. We do have temperatures rising. They're talking about burning the ballots or burning ballot boxes. I just seen a video that they're saying that in South Carolina, I think the KKK is planning on attacking Black women specifically. I don't know if you guys seen that. They said this is not a drill. This is not a hoax, but these KKK have made plans to attack Black women because they are the most vulnerable from now into inauguration. So they're already planning for Trump to lose, and they already planning what their retaliation for Trump. That's what's going on, or for Kamala and what they're going to do. But how does that make you feel as a woman to know that the people are really looking at possibly attacking us, Moya?
Yeah, that's really disheartening. That's really sad, because the first thing that we even spoke about is, where are the men? And so for them to know that we are, as they say, a vulnerable population, it almost feels like, and then it also being a Black woman, when you advocate and stand up for yourself, you're too aggressive. So it's almost like we're caught in this mix of how do we assert ourselves and protect ourselves. But I guarantee you those women in South Carolina, because I went down there when I helped the Obama campaign, went to Pampico, South Carolina. So those women down there, they're not nothing to mess with. So they're in for it if they attempt anything on them.
What do you think, Dr. Lene?
I think that I believe it was Malcolm X that got it right, that the Black woman is the least protected. And it was back then and it is today, right? And so I don't take anything lightly when it comes to the fact of Black women being at the end of violence. I think Brian, or what is it? Do we call him Lion Brian? Brian Shanklin. That's all propaganda. The KKK is not going to attack no Black women. The KKK attacks Black women every day. The system attacks Black women every day. The police, which are underscored by KKK, attack Black women every day. Not all Black men attack Black women every day. The corporate America attacks Black women every day. The legal, like every day, the Black woman is being attacked. So if we're in a climate where we already know that there are states where people can use guns, if we're in a climate where we know that people are intimidating voters, who is the least protected of all the voters? And why wouldn't they go after that person? That would be who? Black women.
But then you think about the least protected when you say that, and then you have these men who are willing to vote on the other side. It's like every time you are in trouble, we back you up. But here you go betraying us by voting like people like Brian Shanklin. And I seen you on my Facebook page, Brian, calling your little buddies, which y'all thought y'all was gonna bully me. But just how they have, I feel like they've betrayed us as Black women by saying that I would rather vote for this lunatic, in my opinion, than vote for a Black woman. What's your thought around that, Dr. Alicia?
It truly is an election of the good versus the evil. Like, honestly, like every the thing is funny. It really is. I mean,
because which one is good and which one is evil?
I'll leave y'all to decide.
I mean, I can tell you that. That's easy.
There's one particular candidate that spews out hatred, division, that spews out just talking off the cuff, no language at all about coming together, no language at all about a fair election. And it's just this one person is just riling up the candidates. And we already know from what is the January 6th, who would have thunk that would have happened? And so now we see DC is preparing themselves because we don't know what the outcome is going to be. Maybe some people do, the higher ups, I don't know. But whatever it is, they're preparing themselves for something that could be brewing. And if people don't get their way, if their reality isn't manifested, isn't a true thing here, I think that there could be some backlash. So it is quite possible. I never would have thought that January 6th was even possible. Like, I still think that was a dream or something. Like, I can't believe we've gotten to this level. We are not the United States. We're going to be
divided states.
It's going to be 50 independent states. We all going to have our own governments. I mean, that's how it's going to turn into. The federal government is just going to be dissolved away, and every single state's going to be for themselves. That's what we're going to return to, and that's not what the thinking about the United States. That's not what the energy of what they want. The United States, all of us being together, looks like that's falling apart.
Yeah. And when you think about
Constance, I just want to say something really quick. And I think it's important for us to understand. That's why it's important for us to go and vote, because all of this can make us feel very fearful, as if we, as Athena said, and I like when Athena pointed it out, like she actually felt the best when she actually did go vote. So I just want us to reiterate, that's why it's important to vote.
I love that. And then when you think about January 6th, January 6th happened, there was over 1,000 people that were convicted. You had after the last election, what they say, I just seen it on CNN 60 Minutes. They said that Trump filed 34 lawsuits, 33 were thrown out. Rudy Giuliani accused the voter, the people of fraud, and he got sued to bankruptcy. So he's now bankrupt because of Trump. Donald Trump was convicted. So there's so many things, and the idea that this man should still be able to run is just insanity. Like, why? How is he even on the ballots to begin with? Is just crazy. And then to have people who still will vote for him because they mad because they don't like homosexuals and abortions, but they'll give away everything else. They'll allow, Black people to get lynched with impunity. They'll allow this man got on the mic and simulated oral copulation at one of his rallies. Did y'all see that? That's a good one. That's one. Did y'all see that? Yes. Yes, he simulated. And I'm like, I don't think this man really wants to he cannot. And TikTok took it down because it violated their policy. Like so how in the world?
That's what they took down? Wow.
TikTok took it down. So the idea that we can have this person, and I don't think, remember you said that the other day, Dr. Alicia, this man cannot want to get elected. He's just saying anything. Right? But what are your thoughts around that, Athena?
Yes. I think that if Trump was not a white rich man, he would not have been able to even have the course that he's running on. And look at Kamala, even whether or not she Black or whatever, let's even take that off the table. Right? Let's just take that off the table. She has the most experience running an actual country and being a part of this system. Yet she has had to prove so much in order to what is looking like just to get the same kind of recognition or effort. I haven't been paying much attention to all the different polls, but what everyone's for my mental health and my sanity. But from what everyone keeps reporting back to me, it's kind of like a neck and neck situation. And it just makes me think, wow, like what the lie that we are being told in Scamerica, that all you have to do is work hard and be the best, when the reality of the situation is wealth and connections can get you much further, much faster than any kind of talent or hard work. So that's what I think of in this situation. I put a post up on my Instagram wishing everybody good luck on election day to go vote. And I said that, I don't have emotional investment in politics in general. So whether or not you vote for someone I'm voting for or not, it doesn't really matter to me. We can still continue to be friends and family. But it's just interesting to me from it shows an aspect of America that is very present and that's not going anywhere, which is wealth and connections and influence will trump hard work, talent, and sacrifice in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. A lot of people say, oh, voting doesn't count. But if voting really didn't matter, they would not be going so hard at throwing out your votes. They wouldn't be going so hard at trying to burn these ballot boxes. They wouldn't be going so hard to make sure that your vote doesn't count. So obviously, they're doing it for a reason. And we'll talk about it when we come back from this commercial.
You want to grow your money and not blow your money, as Constance says, check us out at flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, programs, videos, resources. In 2024, there's no reason to be broke when there's information all around us. So get your money right. flynubianmoney.com.
Come on, y'all. Let's do it together. Come on, y'all. Let's do it together. Come on, flynubianmoney.com. So there's some comments, yo, I really want us to address, and I want to get your thoughts because people are really talking about, there are obviously some Black Trump supporters on here, and I love it. I love to have this sort of discourse. I love to have the conversation. I'm okay with that. And I'm gonna tell you to shut your ass up anyway, Brian, but I'm glad you're here. But let's address some of these comments here. There's one from Brian Shanklin. What did he say? What's that one, Dr. Lede? Where is it at?
There's a few.
So you basically calling Black men cowards directly and indirectly, or what else?
I don't know who the thing to put this one. Black women attack men using child support and the police. Lies about rape and abuse. It sounds like victim mentality. Cleveland Blaze. Cleveland Blaze at 11:25 says another way to turn Black women against Black men. Wow, I can't believe y'all. And then, so let's just talk about, we kind of talked about it a little bit the other day when we did, is this election divisive? against spouses and or partners. I'm only going to specifically speak on the comment that I just made a minute ago, because I'm sure that that's what that is directed at. I tried to do a good job of saying not all is what I had said, but some. Yes, that is the truth. The truth is not every single Black man covers and protects Black women. That is just the truth of the matter. There are more that do. But there are those that do not. Now, if we're talking about this election specifically, which is what we are talking about, there are policies, there are women's rights, there are a variety of different measures that are on this ballot that these two candidates are very, they take very different stances on. And if you choose one or the other, then you are saying indirectly what you think and how you feel about women, not even Black women, just women in general, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But what is the saying, hit dogs, don't holler? If the comment wasn't for you, then it wasn't for you. Don't holler. Yeah. If I'm not talking to you and I'm not talking about you, don't holler. The truth is still the truth.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not you, then it's not you. But the truth is the truth. There are Black men that do not protect Black women. If you are one that does, shout out to you, big ups to you, love to you. As I think I can speak for everybody on this panel and this network as of Black women, we love Black men. We challenge Black women when they don't act right, when they don't show up right, when they do stuff crazy, we call that out. And we do it for Black men too. I would like to say and believe that we're equal. We might lean a little bit more heavier to Black women because we are Black women, but we try to be balanced. And so I'm going to say that never would I call a Black man a coward. Never would I specifically speak to be divisive against Black men and Black women.
Agreed.
But we also have to be honest and say the truth, which is why I started with not all. Don't holler if you're not hit.
Ooh. Okay.
He hollered, so he might have been hit.
You know, I love Bryce. Anybody ever see that movie called Django? And you remember Samuel L. Jackson's role on Django? That kind of reminds me of Mr. Brian Shanklin. You are Samuel L. Jackson on the Django. But let's go ahead and shift gears, because I really want to talk about the economic effect of voting, because at the end of the day, you know, we're about our bottom line. Some people, so I think there's a division here, and some people are voting their pockets, and some people are voting their morality, or what they think is their morality, or more so, I guess. Well, let's say morality. Like, what's more important? What do you think is more important for the country? Because people are saying that Donald Trump is going to be able to save us economically. Is that the most important part of this whole cycle, Moya?
Well, whenever I get that, I always ask for who? For who? Like, for LeBron James, for sure, it would be way more economical for him to vote for Trump, because he would just extend the tax cuts that have already been given to people in the higher echelons that are earning multi-millions of dollars. To the Southern white person, no, it's going to hurt you way more, because they're not putting any more advances, either if it's the tax credit, if it's housing, if it's taking care of price gouging, it wouldn't happen. So in that case, Constance, I would say they're voting their morality. I guess morality is racism. So I guess that's what they're voting.
Ah, okay. And it's funny, because when I was watching Obama on an interview, he was saying that everybody's giving them relief. Trump is the only one who put his name on it. So all these Black people that talk about, well, Trump gave me that stimmy, every president has given some type of relief. Trump didn't even want to give the relief, but he had to, because Congress passed the law. But he said, you know what, well, since we're going to give it, I'm going to go ahead and take credit for it. And that right there is straight up narcissism, right? Because a president serves the people. And for me, it seems like Trump is kind of serving himself. Dr. Alicia, what are your thoughts? What is the most important thing for this country? Is it sort of the social, or they say we're becoming socialist, or is it about, capitalism?
Okay, so I think what you're trying to address is why are people voting the way they're voting? You know, what is the motivating factor? Is it because of some of these social issues? Are they socially conservative or liberal? Are they fiscally conservative or liberal? You know, I think when I look at research done on groups of individuals, we see that poor, uneducated white men have the highest rate of mental health, unalived thoughts of being unalived,
Yep.
feeling angry. They look at the world where they should have achieved so much more and they have not. They feel like their entitlements haven't been what it needed to be. And, they're very unhappy and sad. And so they have to blame somebody. And I think the blame has been 8 years of Obama presidency, that the world has moved on and they've been left behind. They really do feel this way. So what I'm seeing is that Donald Trump is speaking to them. Like, he's speaking to their experiences and how their hatred, in a lot of ways, maybe not even toward themselves, some of them, yes, but just that the fact that the world has left them behind, because he speaks about bringing back the coal. I don't know what we would even use coal factories for. Like, I don't even know what coal would do, but bringing back the steel mill, which is, I'm from Gary, Indiana, so I could see it's like bringing back these low skill, jobs that you can get where you don't have education. I'm thinking that they're looking at Barack Obama and they're associating him with Kamala Harris as these elitist Black people who think they too good for us. She's a lawyer. She speaks intelligently, and she's California, New York, like that sort of thing. It's an elitist thing. And I think some of the Black people who are voting for Trump, you look at their education level, it's not as high as everyone else.
Not their education, not their money.
The money situation, they're all of that. So they feel, and very religious.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So these aren't like, it's a class issue. Now, I'm not saying people who have education are better than those who don't. All of us are valuable. I'm just getting into the mind of people who look at rich Black people. Who you think you are? You know so much more. You don't know nothing. Those education. Who cares about studies?
Tyler Perry, highbrow Negroes.
Research. I just got to get my little Bible and pray. Like, that's what they're thinking. Like, that's
You all are elitists on here. Oh my God, I'm looking at you. This is just an elitist panel here.
First of all, I'm going to agree with what Dr. Leisha is saying, but I'm going to add to that and say, if you don't make at least $250,000, none of what they're talking about for taxes is going to affect you.
And that's less than 6% of the people, according to Athena.
It's not
Right.
for you. You don't make enough. But
I'm just saying.
But also,
You ain't even in the tax bracket to have the conversation.
your economics is not going to be affected at all. Like,
I
not
need
even
my
a little bit.
$1,200 stemmy.
And that's not to be mean or rude. It's just
It's to
go
be
back
mean or rude.
looking
Ignorant.
at like the reality of these things. As somebody in the comments said, we vote emotionally. We vote because we don't like this person or we don't like that person. Or somebody said Kamala's not going to do well sitting at the table. Like, we're making assumptions.
Who's the high yellow president? Who she thinks she is? I get that a lot.
Oh, she
Who
ain't
she
Black.
think she is? The high yellow, just walking around telling everybody what to do. I've listened to this. I've listened to what they say, and they don't like it. They don't like this whole thing. They just don't like this whole. How do they know? How do they know what's going on better? They got to pray to the Lord. A lot of
They would be the same motherfuckers that Harriet Tubman shot when she was trying to run for freedom. Let's go to a commercial.
Fly Nubian Money is now on Spotify. Yes, yes, yes. We are on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, you can listen to us. All you have to do is search Fly Nubian Money and we will appear. All of our episodes. Make sure that you leave a 5-star rating and reviews so other people that come along and are looking for a good show to watch, they'll follow us too. If you are interested in being on Fly Nubian Money, sorry, I don't have any spaces. I'm just playing. If you are interested in being a queen or a king on Fly Nubian Money for the day, please reach out to me. I'm at info@realvirtual.net. That's info@realvirtual.net. Also, if you need help with your business, go ahead and send me an email for that too. Okay. I've said enough. Now back to the show.
All right. So I've said this quote before. Lyndon B. Johnson said, if you could take the lowest white man and convince him that he's better than the best colored man, he won't even know that you pick in his pockets. In fact, give him someone to look down on and he will give you everything he owns. So that explains why a lot of white people will vote against their better interests, right? That explains like they are more concerned with white supremacy than they care about the betterment of their people, themselves, their families, or whatever. What is wrong with these black men that are out in droves that are supporting the BS? What is it? And I know we don't have any black men on the panel to speak for, for black men or black men who think that way. But what do you think, Moya? What is it? Are they deathly afraid of having a black woman lead them? What is the problem?
So one of the things is, so nowadays, whenever I'm talking to somebody, I always ask them, like, what are your thoughts on the election? And so I had this guy tell me, who's a black man, and he said, I don't think women need to lead the country. And I was so surprised, one, that he had the nerve to say it out loud. And two, like, that's a real thought. Like, your mom didn't lead your household? Like, what are we talking about here? I mean, and I understand the dynamic of the man, the woman, but whatever position that the woman's in, she has to lead, just as the man. So I don't understand what that even means. So I to the credit, I've also spoken to black men that understand that Kamala is the best choice out of the two. So I think it depends. The one thing that I do want to address is Nichelle. I want to know what policies she feels she aligns with Trump.
That's a great question, Ms. Nichelle.
None of our freedom available to us.
Right.
Yes.
So, I'm sorry. So Nichelle said, I don't agree with everything I don't like Trump, but I can align with his policies. Well, what are those policies? That abortions are illegal and transgender people, whatever? Is that what she's talking about? Okay. All right. If that's what that is, say so.
I think some of that is understanding what some of these things means. Like I was, so with Moya was saying, whenever somebody leads with, she's a woman. Yeah, we know she's a woman. Like what's wrong with the woman leading the country? But that's not the piece I want to talk about. The other piece is understanding what some of these things mean, right? So when we're talking about abortion, they know, they being the others, they know that they will become the majority minority. I believe it is 2030 or something like that, 2040, 2050. So they have to take abortion rights off the table because they have to keep having white women have babies so that they don't lose their ranking, because they are supposed to become the minority. Well, and white women actually have abortions at a higher rate than any other population, which I don't know if you guys know that. So when you start thinking about some of these things, like, why do they care about abortion? Why do they care about a woman's body? Well, they care about it because they can't be eliminated. They have to force these white women to keep having these babies because they need to try to get women to have more babies. I believe women are having babies. Women are having children later in life, and they're having less children. So if they can't make these women have babies, then they will continue to become not only be the minority, but they will lose their positioning and their ranking as the majority. So you have to even just look deeper into these policies and whatnot. It's not always just cut and dry. Well, women's rights. First of all, a woman should have the right to determine what she's doing with her body. Like that's not off the top. The government shouldn't tell me what I can or cannot do with my body, but also the underlining power and systemic racism that's tied to it that says we need to hold our majority. So you need to have this baby, whether you want it or not, whether it goes into the system or not, whether you can take care of it or not. That's crazy. Like we got to look at these things holistically, not just emotionally, not just who the person is, but what does this mean for you, your children and your children's children.
Good shit. Anybody else want to tag on to that?
I
Dr.
want
Alicia?
to say something about the differences between Republican and Democratic voters. I just found a study on it.
Okay.
They were saying they looked at the demographics and the psychographics, that's the thing, of voters. And the key differences between Republican and Democrats. Republican voters are identified as white typically. They're older. So you have to understand the younger people, their children and their grandchildren are not Republican. Their children and grandchildren are more likely to be more liberal, right? So just think about how the world has changed so much. And you're some old white man, you're like, and you're angry and you're shaking your fist in the air and you're like, these old, so you're just upset about it and your things are moving too fast. Skepticism towards social change. They don't want social change to happen. They have very traditional values, fiscally conservative. They don't want government in their life. They want limited government. And they live in rural and suburban areas. Now, Democrats, of course, are more diverse. They're younger. They live in urban and city. They are progressive. They are interested in social justice, environmental protection, expanding government roles such as healthcare and education. And they want inclusivity, community support. So that's how they tend to vote. They're interested in environmental stability, sustainability. Understanding these characteristics provide insight into underlying factors that drive voting behavior across voting lines. So that's just to tell you what the study found is that that's just how it is. And there's no country for old men. Like y'all
on your way out of here. Y'all on your way out
on the world. That's what I'll add to it.
Well, to add to that, 45 million registered voters are Democrats. 35.7 million registered voters are Republicans, and 32.5 million registered voters are independent or unaffiliates, and then 4.3 million are registered approximately other parties. So that's very interesting. You have more Democratic voters than you have Republicans, and then the independents tend to, I think, lean more towards the Democratic Party a lot of times. But I do believe that there is a problem with a two-party system. But let's go back to Nichelle's comment. She said that it was parental rights. So what do you think about that, Moya? What do you think about the whole idea of her voting for Trump for parental rights?
So what I keep hearing when they say that is they feel that yes, this biological boy is using the same bathroom as little girls. That's one thing that they keep saying. One of the things that an abortion needs to be decided on the state level. So a couple things. Majority of Black people are located in the southern states, and every southern state, I think, except Virginia, has a ban on abortion. And remember, what we're talking about is the freedom for a woman to choose her and what's happening with her body. And every woman has some sort of story about something that has happened with her female body, whether that's a miscarriage, whether that's being in a situation where you're forced to do something sexually that you don't want to do. All of these women have stories. And if we don't have the ability to make a decision about our body, it leaves us with little choice in terms of how we want to control and dictate our life. Now, the whole thing that is so important for me is freedom. Regardless of if we keep talking about this, if we have an agenda, and freedom is at the top in terms of what happens with us as Black people and having access, it would be minimized, and we won't even be able to have a discussion about whether boys need to be girls or this whole indoctrination that they're feeling. I think we're losing the point on what's happening on a much broader scale. That's going to have a much greater effect on us, whether or not we feel like this agenda is being pushed on us and our kids.
That's interesting. It's funny because there are basic civic lessons that I think that civic conversations that we need to have. Okay, because I think who was that on here in the comments? He said Neek 2383. He said, "What has Kamala done the last 4 years?" So we Wealth Warrior. When people ask that question, and I want to ask you all, and go to Dr. Lene afterwards. he said, what has Kamala done the last 4 years? Because they're saying, she didn't pass this law, she didn't do this, she didn't do this. What is her responsibility as the vice president? What could she have done this last 4 years?
Listen, from my understanding, the vice president is a role where they support the president. They don't really have that much power and influence over dictating policy. And I also want to remind people that when it comes to things getting passed in this country, and I'm sure Moya can speak to this, it's not just the presidential office, the judicial branch that is making decisions. Like there's Congress, there's the Supreme Court, there's different elements to government, right? So I want people to think about that. I think when you're looking at this election, you need to look at the issues and the platform that the individual parties are running on. Now, what I will say is what was conflicted when we were talking about earlier is voting on morals and then voting on money. That was a conflict that I was having leading up to my vote, because from a financial perspective, I really don't, I'm leaning one way, and from like a morality perspective, I'm leaning one way. Right. And even if, and I was speaking to some other people as well, that they felt so conflicted between both parties that they just didn't want to vote at all. But I still encourage them to vote, because especially because we live in Florida, there are other things on that ballot that needed to be voted on. There was school board elections was up, marijuana, if we're going to legalize, that was up, abortion, right to abortion, Amendment 4, that was on the ballot as well. So I think we all have to look at all of these things, especially if and I'm sure we have a graphic on this, especially if you live in a swing state or a state that is very crucial for the electoral college, then you definitely need to contribute your voice in that way. I know in this election, there's a lot of voter sabotage, things going on, ballots not being received, ballot box being burned, all kind of madness. I personally requested an absentee ballot that never made it to my house. I had to get up and go early vote, because I was just like, at this point, it's just not coming. It said it was mailed September and it still ain't here. So that to say is that, whoever you're going to vote for is fine, but do not, at this point, we should not be trying to convince people of who to vote for. We just need to do our part and let it come out in the wash.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Alicia, what has Kamala done over the last 4 years? That's what they said.
Let me tell you, I really like Kamala because she did a really good job. It's really funny. She did a good job of supporting everything Biden said. She was like a ride or die. She forwarded Biden's agenda. Her job as a vice president, she took it seriously to be of support to the president. So when he came out with this initiative on forgiving student loans, she supported that. When he came out and talked about economic stimulus plans, which he did, she supported that. So what I've heard from her is to just basically listen out to see what the president was saying, and then she and her office worked to support that. She didn't ruffle any feathers. She definitely wasn't risky. She it's funny, it was a joke on TikTok about her silk press. Everybody trying to find out where she went. Her silk press. Her silk press was together, and then she did a lot of laughing. She looked like she was having a fun time. I mean, I don't know. I was kind of joking about it with my husband. I was like, shoot, if I was vice president, I'd do the same thing. That's having fun in the White House, So I think what happened at the risk of it was that it looked as if she wasn't really fazed by nothing. Didn't look like she was kind of thrown into this presidency. That's how it came across, that she had to okay, I need to now get serious with a lot of things. But I just found her to just be a great figurehead. She's, she delivered. She delivered everything. She didn't ruffle feathers. She didn't mess up. There wasn't a lot of gaffes, but she definitely wasn't shaking things up. She was almost like an Obama in a sense, where Obama did a wonderful job upholding all the systems.
Yeah.
He did a fabulous job there. Mm-hmm.
Marla Layson said what a vice president does is they are the president of the Senate with a tie-breaking vote. So everybody who's saying what she didn't do the last 4 years, she's the president of the Senate and tie-breaking vote. Also, I don't think, and I don't know, I haven't done my research, but I've never seen in the history of this country where a vice president has gone against the president as Pence has gone against Donald Trump. I've never seen that in the history of this country, but I digress. Moya, what has she done in the last 4 years?
So, as what Dr. Alicia was saying is what Marlo also highlighted, the vice president supports the president, but since Donald Trump was the president of the United States, let's go over what he did. So us as the United States, we had the highest deaths for first, developed countries of COVID. He also passed the largest tax cut for the top 1%. In addition to that,
what about trickle down? What about trickle down?
What trickle down to where? To who?
I don't know. They said it's the trickle down.
Yeah. So trickle down has been going on. So yes, you are so right. So trickle down is what's been going on since Reagan, right? With Reaganomics, they've said that there's a trickle down economy, but that never worked. It didn't work 4 years ago, and it never worked in 2016. He also attempted to repeal Obamacare, which is the Affordable Health Care Act, multiple times.
Wait. Stop right there. Did he stop? He said, healthcare is a really complicated thing. You think? After he vowed to destroy it.
To destroy it after 9 years, he still has a concept of a plan for healthcare that he wants to put forward. And then he's also the one that gets credit. But as you said, Constance, Congress is the one that passed the act in order for us to get stimulus. And then on top of that, with what Nichelle said for October, Biden Harris, they're the ones that have the lowest unemployment rate for Black people in the United States. So there's a lot that we can point to that Donald Trump did not do or that he did do. And we have to ask if that's what we want again. But still understand freedom is most important.
Here you go with your numbers and stuff.
Right. There you go with your facts.
I don't believe it.
Facts.
My Bible tells me what to vote for.
Neek 2383. I mean, the numbers don't lie. What they say, numbers don't lie. What? Who do? People
they
do.
Don't believe. There are people who would listen to Moya give that whole description and go, "Pooey, where'd you get that information from?" No, it's a national database that follows and tracks this information. Here are facts. Like, I'm not going to debate. I'm not going to debate fact. Give me a fact that contradicts that. Don't just say, I don't like that. It just, okay.
So let me ask you a question. This has been really good. Today is a really exciting day. It could be pretty historical. It really can. And I'm excited because I feel like I know which way, and I would be but I was surprised in 2016. I was super surprised in 2016. Like, I just knew, because I thought it was a joke. Like, no way this clown is gonna, and he did. But I think it's gonna be historic. I really do. Let's go with final thoughts. Dr. Alicia, let's give them your final thoughts.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't even be making fun of people because that's not nice. My final thoughts is let's start listening. Let's not do what I just did, like make fun of people. Let's not do that, because when I speak to a Trump supporter, and I have, they're sweet, loving, wonderful people, right? They just adhere to a certain level of thinking that's different from mine, and it's okay, right? They have a different sense of value that's different from mine. They have legitimately a distrust of our government for good reasons. And I would advise all of us to just take a minute, no matter who wins, who loses, let's treat each other with some dignity. Let's be mindful in our conversations. And I want to apologize if I offended anybody, but I was just being kind of silly today. That's all. Oh, if you want to reach me in my serious professionalism, you can reach me at coachingwithdralicia.com. I promise you I will be professional.
Baby, I don't think you offended nobody. Who you offend?
I felt like I was making fun of people. I was talking about and I shouldn't do that.
It's okay. This was supposed to be a lighthearted conversation.
I know.
But somebody in the audience, Dr. Alicia, I know you got to go, so we're gonna go ahead and let you bounce out of here. Thank you, darling. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow. Or see you Thursday. I do want to address this real quick before I let you guys do your final thoughts. Someone said, I think she said, I didn't vote for either of them because both of them are evil. And then I heard you say, Moya, earlier, like, there is not a lesser of two evils. There's one person that's evil and there's one person that's not. Why do you say that?
Because our because our freedom is at stake. Someone has told us exactly how he feels about us. And the other person has done all that they can do, all that she can do, all that Vice President Harris can do in order for us to be seen and valued in this country, while the other person has done the exact opposite. And every time he's asked, even from his own group, to walk back his words, he always doubles down on it. So I think it's important that we take his words, like don't listen to anything that anybody says, but take his words and understand what he means when he says he wants to be a dictator.
I actually disagree. I think always like the lesser of two evils, because I think that we have one snake with two heads. In my opinion, we have one snake, two heads. When they talk about that working across the aisle, but I also believe in don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So because I cannot agree 100% with either candidate or either party, I'm having to choose which one most aligns with what I like or what I don't like about this one. So I am choosing the lesser of the two because neither one fully support or on board with what I think and how I believe. So I have to pick the one that most likely or is as close to what I want, which gives us the lesser of two evil. They're from the same body. They just split heads, and this one talks at you this way, and this one talks at you this way, but they're the same body. They're the government. They're the government. One's Bloods, one's Crips.
No, it's so the government, yes, because they're running for state office, but we're talking about people. People run the government. So when we talk about it from a stance of lesser of two evils, we both categorize them as both as evil. When one has went out and said they took out a full page ad asking for the death of the Central Park Five. One has went out and did put the letter C on applications for people that wanted to rent rent his apartments. Like one has actually went ahead and done it. The one thing that they have on Kamala Harris is the time that she was in California and she said that the marijuana, only out of the 1,900 cases, only 54 or 56 of those people, 45. Thank you, Constance, actually went to jail. The other thing is the parent truancy, when she actually said kids have to go to school. And if they don't go to school, I'm going to arrest parents. That's not evil. You can say I have differing opinions on this and this, but to say they're the same body and they're evil. One has actually showed us what evil looks like when he said, just with Black Lives Matters, the protesters, can't we just shoot them? Like, how come we have to? No, they're not the same. Like, it's not the same.
He said, yeah, he did say, can't we just shoot them? He said that about the protesters. Can't we just shoot the protesters?
I think the parties are both evil.
The parties, I agree. I agree with the parties.
Both, and they're coming from the same body. We just have to vote which one best aligns with what we believe and think, ethics, values, etc. Whichever one aligns best for you. And if you think that is good, then that is good for you. In which case, I guess it could be good over evil. But sometimes it'll be this party, sometimes it'll be that party. It just depends on what's on the ballot.
I would say Trump is definitely evil. I say the parties are, kind of. But you do have this now. You have this level of extremists. They're not regular. This is not the regular Republican Party. This is not the regular Republican Party of the 80s and 90s, early 2000s. This is a totally radical party that have radicalized their base, that are causing violence, inciting riots. Again, January 6th. So this is a totally different Republican Party. So I can't say. I could say. In general, the Republicans and the Democrats are kind of the same. But when you say the lesser of two evils, I think Donald Trump is truly an evil person. He's a very narcissistic, very vain person. And I don't believe that about Kamala, but I don't know her personally. But let me ask you, Athena, and then we're going to go to final thoughts. Do you think this is the lesser of two evils?
Well, from a morality standpoint, do I feel like Donald Trump morality is definitely questionable at best? Yes. Do I think that Kamala is without any questionable morals? No. I really voted on what I felt was right for me to do at the time. I did not feel going into the polls like, oh my God, there was a clear person that I was going to, that 100% stood behind and I feel optimistic about this country. No, I do not feel that way whatsoever. But what I did say to myself is regardless of what happens, regardless of what happens, I have to do what is in my power to do to affect my life and my reality. And that is what I encourage and remind people of, is that at the end of the day, these people are going to sit in a chair for 4 years. Yes, they're going to dictate policy, but you have the power to dictate your life as much as possible. But I voted for what made sense for me as a Black woman to do. And on my morality standpoint, that's what I voted on. Now, if I was voting for money, I'd have picked somebody else.
Yeah, understood. Neek said we don't know Trump personally either, but we know what comes out the motherfucker's mouth. Like, and then just like you said, Moya, his people always walking his shit back. Like, no, he really said this. No, he said what he said. Why do somebody got to come back and correct him? This is what I said. So we hear what comes out the motherfucker's mouth. Like, what do we have to do? No, we don't know him personally, but we know what he says. And he's very clear that he wanted to lock your Black ass up and kill your Black ass with immunity. But while you're there, Athena, go ahead and give us your final thoughts.
Okay. Final thoughts are this. Listen, cast your vote, relax, take it off. The universe is going to decide who's going to be sitting in that seat tomorrow. And regardless of who is sitting in that seat, you have to take accountability for yourself and your part in your own life. What I am doing is helping people who are interested in creating wealth and income for themselves, regardless of whoever is sitting on that seat. So I have 2 things that are limited right now. I have my Idea to Income workshop on November 14th that you can sign up for on my website. And I'm also giving complimentary consultations to help people build their businesses and wealth, because that is what is going to be, at the end of the day, advancing you in life more so than what these people debate about in these politics. If you like me, or if you want to follow everything that I do, you can find me at wewealthwomen.com, at wewealthwomen on all social media platforms, and the We Wealth Women podcast where you listen to podcasts.
All right. Make sure you go follow Miss Athena, and she gonna hit you up to some game and give you some free consultations. Anybody in here need a free consultation on how to build wealth? Holla at your girl. Dr. Lene, what are your thoughts?
Dang, I was writing my 4th one down so I didn't forget
Go
about
ahead.
it.
Okay. You want me to go to Moya?
Yeah, go to Moya.
Okay. We're gonna go to Moya.
Okay, so for me, every day as Black people, we walk down the street and we step out of our house and we have to decide in terms of how we are represented and most importantly, how people perceive us. And one of the things that always happens with us is, or not always, but can sometimes happen, is we can be at the right place at the wrong time. And what I mean by that, wherever we're supposed to be there, but we're there at the wrong time, meaning that if it's a police officer and they want to pull us over, or if it's not only the Central Park 5 in terms of them being at Central Park and being convicted, or if it's Breonna Taylor and her being in her home and the officers coming in and shooting her, he wants to go ahead and give police immunity. He wants to reinstate stop and frisk. All of these have a grave effect on how our lives are dictated and how we need to carry ourselves. Let's say we want to protest that. He's going to say that is illegal. Let's say we want to, and then we're sent to jail. Let's say we want to fight our case. The federal judges and that he appoints and that his people appoint are all going to side with them. Heritage Foundation, along with the Federal Society, they believe in what they call the Constitution being original, like understanding what was the original meaning of the Constitution. And what that means is, especially for Black people, that meant that we were 3/5. So we have to understand that their perception of us is going to allow us to be in a place that won't allow us to flourish. So what's really on the ballot is our freedom. And we have to understand that if we don't vote in a way that allows us to build from where we're at versus tearing it down, and then we have to rebuild again because we don't have the courts on our side, because the Supreme Court is now 7-2, because this next president can appoint 1 to 2 more people. it allows us to truly be walked back almost 50 years because of what they want to bring forward. And because they're so scared of what it means for a person, a nation of color, and they're now in the minority. We are voting for our freedom. So we have to really stand on that. And that's what we're looking to do. So that's the biggest thing. Freedom, freedom, freedom.
I love it. Thank you, more. You so smart, girl. You so smart. I love it when you be saying stuff. You smart, but you definitely bring a great and I think a fresh perspective that people like Neek and Brian Shanklin and all them jigaboos don't like. But go ahead, Dr. Lene. What are your final thoughts?
Jigaboos, I can't with you today, Constance. So I'm gonna pick up a little bit with where Moya left off. And I was driving down the freeway the other day, and I saw this sign that says "Take America Back," and it's a double entendre, right? So when I hear it, I'm like, "Take America back to what? Slavery? Like how far back do we want to go?" It was a Trump sign, but I know what he means, like we gotta take America back. But what does that even mean to take America back? Back from who? Who took it from you? Who stole it? Like call them out, say it by name, right? But also I'm gonna go to the comments. There was a lot of stuff in the comments that said women can guide but not lead. And I think we have to change some of our ideologies and our thinking, because women can lead. Women do lead. Women lead every single day. The world wouldn't turn if it wasn't for women. And I said that. It's not to say that men don't do what they're supposed to do. It's not to say that men aren't the head. It's not to say that men aren't who they are, but it's also not to discredit what women do in the world and how women show up. So I think that language is divisive. I think that it's dangerous. And I think that you should change it, because you need to make sure that you are speaking into your daughter so that she knows that anything is possible, that she can do anything, that she can become anyone. And her color does not dictate that. So we need to be thinking about that. Also, when we're talking about what the vice president does, they are a helpmate. They are there to support. They don't really get to have much of a say-so, because what they're doing is implementing the direction of the president. And while we're talking about that, a lot of times these presidents, when they come into office, they are coming in on the tail end of what the president before them did. So when you talk about the things that Trump has done and how Trump has showed up, he is riding the wave of what Obama did. So it looks like he did all these great things, but did he really? I believe it said that a president has to be in office for 8 years in order to really see what they do, because the first 4 years is really just what the president before them was doing. So they need that second term consecutively in order to have their own concepts, ideologies, and things implemented. So when we talk about all these things that Trump has done, what did he really do compared to what wave he was riding from Obama, right? And then lastly, there was a comment from a George Franklin. It was a long time ago. I saved it in our private chat because I wanted to come back to it, because one of the things that we like to do here is make sure that we're talking about solutions. And I thought that this was a creative solution. George Franklin at 11:34 a.m. Arizona time said, "Make the runner-up VP. This will solve all the divide." I actually think that that's a great idea. What if we had a Republican and a Democratic in the office at the same time? Why does it have to be all Republican or all Democratic? I actually think that concept could work. One takes the lead, one takes the second position. But what would it look like if we had both parties working together, so that both parts of America, so that both people's interests can be represented in the White House? That might be something to think about. Why does it have to be an us versus them mentality? If we are the United States, why aren't we working to be more united? And so that's what I'm going to leave my final thought with. Like, what can we do to make sure that we are more united, whether that is in the United States, but more importantly for me, as a Black community? How do we in our community get more united? How do we in our community show up for the Black man and show up for the Black woman and show up for our children? How do we support each other so that when we go to the polls, we are voting united and we're moving the needle in the direction that benefits us as a community? So that's where I'll leave it at. I'm Dr. Lene Javette. I'm a business coach. I'm a monetization strategist. I specifically work with Black entrepreneurs who want to rebuke the stereotypes against Black businesses, who want to hit 6 figures and want to triple their revenue. You can find me at I am Dr. Lene Javette.
I love it. I'm listening to her. I'm watching the commentary in the chat, and I love all the commentary. I think it's great. I don't know about the idea of having the Donald Trump as a vice president, because he would just just running straight discourse, but I could see the idea of maybe having somebody who's actually qualified to be the vice president. But that's why you have a cabinet. That's why, when Obama was the president, he had he had a multifaceted cabinet. It wasn't just all Democrats. But when Trump got in office, he only had Republicans in his cabinet, and they were 95% white. So, but that's what he decided to do. That was his the makeup of what he wanted to have, and that was running the country. But I will say this: I know that when Biden was in office, I was not interested in voting for Biden. I was like, fuck, it's like an old man against an old man. Ain't neither one of them going to do anything. But I will say that when Kamala got involved, it did kind of revitalize things for me. And I was like, yo, because I love what she was talking about when she talked about uniting the country, just like Obama talked about. I loved when her talking points. And I love that when you call it pandering, I think it is her reaching out to people who are like us. I don't mind it. If she ignored us, we'd have a problem with it. Now that she's talking to us, so we have a problem with it. Even with the black men, with all the black men saying that they don't like her, they didn't want to vote for her. And then when she said, you know what, I'm going to do something specifically to effectuate change for black men, then they got mad that she's pandering to black men, or it's not enough. It's like, when is enough enough? I think of course, we're not a monolith, and that's okay. We all think very different, and I'm good with that. And I'm good with even having, just joking. I'm joking about, the little names that I'm calling y'all. I think it's funny, but I think that we should think differently. We shouldn't think the same. But the biggest thing is that we just need to go out and make sure that our votes count, because our ancestors were hung from trees and they had signs next to them saying this NIGGER voted. And so when you think about that, and when you think about the sacrifices that Black people had to make, you think about the poll taxes. They made $2 a week or $2 a month, and they was charging them $2 to come out and vote. They were saying that we need a birth certificate. You need a birth certificate to vote, and they wouldn't give Black people birth certificates. They made it virtually impossible for us to vote. And so here we are sitting back, 200, 300,000 people in swing states, in states that count, that aren't voting. And that's just not okay. We got to make our ancestors proud, no matter who we vote for, because they really did fight and they died so that we can have that right. So that's all I wanted to say. But I tell you, I love these ladies, and I love having this engaging dialogue. And of course, sometimes we all are on the same page, and sometimes we aren't, and that's okay. But I enjoy having conversations with highly intellectually stimulating ladies, and you guys too in the comments. I ain't mad at you, Nichelle. I ain't mad at you, Nick. Not even you, Mr. Shanklin, with your Django ass. We welcome the conversation. And I do want to say this. Tonight, the Fly Nubian Queens are going to be going live. Yes, we're going to be going live at 7:00, and we're going to have an election watch party. So instead of watching CNN, instead of watching MSNBC, instead of watching CBS, you can watch us. Put your computer, or actually everybody got a smart TV, right? Go and get on YouTube, and you can watch us tonight at 7, and we will be talking about the election, and we're going to have a good old time when we do it too. So make sure that you join us tonight at 7:00 as we discuss the election, because this is all about us. This is our perspective, a Black perspective. And of course, again, we are not a monolith, and that's okay. We're going to all have our varying opinions on what we think, but we want to just continue the dialogue tonight. Also, we are here every day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. So every time we go live, we want you to get alerted. And the way that you can get alerted is you could text the word Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS at 87948. And we on Spotify, y'all. So go to Spotify and search for Fly Nubian Money on Spotify. And if you want to know how to grow your money and not blow your money, because if you blow your money, it ain't a damn thing funny, go to flynubianmoney.com. All right. So we're going to see you tomorrow. And hopefully we see some change tonight. Okay. Same time tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, same time, same bat channel. Thank you, my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful queens. And peace out to all the Jangos and Jigaboos out there. Peace.